Hi, thank you for joining us again on Interesting Individuals. I'm Bill Landing. My guest today has been serving as the superintendent of the Michigan City Schools area. She's going to talk about what has gone on all these years in the job and why she is an interesting individual. My guest is Dr. Barbara Eason Watkins. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay. Well, let's first start out with what universities you went to and what your degrees are in.
Well, I first attended the University of Michigan. I received my undergraduate degree in elementary education. Okay. Then I went on to Chicago State. I received my master's degree in educational administration and supervision. I then took courses at the University of Chicago in curriculum and administration. Mm-hmm. I completed my doctorate degree at Loyola University Chicago.
Okay. So some impressive schools. So roughly how many years did you teach?
I taught from 1973 until 1985. Okay. So I taught 12 years.
That was all in elementary education?
All in elementary education. I did have, in Illinois at the time, often the 8th grade was in the elementary building. So I taught everything from kindergarten, 1st grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade, 8th grade, and I taught 8th grade science because I had electives in science that made me eligible to teach those courses.
Okay, well, what interested you in coming to Michigan City? Let's talk about when you got here.
Well, let me back you up because I actually bought a home here with my husband in 2008. And that was 2 years before I started in 2010. And we were looking for a summer home at the time, or a place to come in the winter to, because we love the outdoors. And we came across the home on a website, believe it or not.
Okay.
Had never been to Michigan City before.
All right.
Hadn't been to the shopping center, and we just fell in love with the home and the community. So that was 2 years before I actually started, and it really gave me a chance to read the newspapers, keep up with some of the things that were going on. One of my neighbors across the street happened to be a teacher, and so when there was a vacancy here in Michigan City in the superintendent's role, we talked about it and talked about some of the needs. And
who was the teacher?
Her name was Marjorie. She moved on to another state with her husband.
Okay.
But she was just very, very informative in terms of things that were happening here. So I was fortunate to be called upon to participate in the interview process. And the interview then was done by Jim Dworkin, who at that time was the chancellor at PNC.
Okay, yes.
Paul Applegate from Applegate and Associates, and Jay Fuller represented the labor union. Okay. And it was, they each had questions that were specific to their line of business and their role in the community. And I think as we continued to talk, we both felt it was a win-win on, both sides. We went about an hour beyond the set time, for the interview, just talking about things that they were aware of, things that they would like to see. And I knew that there had been some tension, in the community, with the educational system at that particular time. And, that was a strength, and just the interest that I have and had extended through my years as a principal, as well as serving as the chief education officer in Chicago, just to collaborate, build partnerships, build relationships. Those were things that, I was experienced in and I thought would be useful.
All right. Now, when you first became the superintendent, what were your top 2 or 3 priorities that you wanted to address?
Well, it was interesting. The first person who contacted me and wanted a meeting was Phyllis Stark, who was the president at that time of the Teachers Association. And there had been, as I mentioned earlier, some tension, I would say a lot of tension, with the previous superintendent and the teachers. And one of the things she wanted to do was start fresh. And we got to know each other. What we did, over dinner, we talked about various scenarios, how they really felt disrespected. And what we agreed upon that day was that we may not always be in agreement on a given subject or a given topic, but we would never disagree in terms of our commitment to serving children in this community.
Okay.
And so that was number one. The second thing that I did, and this actually occurred before I started working here, I did a listening tour. I started by just visiting every school, meeting with parent groups, meeting with teachers, and then I also continued the listening tour once I started to ensure that I connected with a lot of the various social groups, organizations here in Michigan City to hear more about what their interests were, what their vision was, so that we could bring it together. Mm-hmm. You know, just as an example, I met Joe Core. And Joe was one who was very much interested in careers, construction, you know, getting students more engaged. And that was one of the first things that, you know, as we were looking at what was taking place at the Career Center, you know, it was obvious that there were changes that were needed. You know, we had a vacancy in terms of leadership there. I paused it and I said, it's more important for us to understand what the business community wants. I met with all of the superintendents because there are other districts that actually feed into the Career Center, okay, so that we could agree, first of all, on what we were looking for in a leader. Mm-hmm. And then from the business perspective, you know, what areas we needed to focus on. There were things that we no longer continued, and there were things that we needed to bolster. And I think that we can all in this community be very proud of the work that is taking place at AK mm-hmm. Smith, the kinds of things that are, you know, and those are examples, you know, just if I had not had the listening tour, for example, I would not have known some of the things that were important. I met parents who felt that many of the students that were struggling were getting a lot of support, but there weren't programs, for example, in place for the gifted and talented. Mm-hmm. And so those were things as well that we began to address. Mm-hmm. And we developed, you know, high ability gifted programs, K through 8. At the high school level, we began to really ensure that students had access to things such as dual credit and advanced placement. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to ensure that students could earn college credit, you know, while in high school. Examples of things, yeah, mm-hmm. absolutely. You know, we often talked about the thousands of dollars that parents in this community save because of the dual credit and AP opportunities.
Okay, good enough. Now, I haven't been in touch with any of the high school mm-hmm.
Information,
but do they still do SAT tests?
Yes, SAT is...
Let's talk about why that's important.
Well, the SAT has always been important to ensure that students are able to be measured against those across the country. It is now the high school, you know, assessment test mm-hmm. from the state as well. Many of the colleges during the pandemic dropped the SAT as a requirement. They felt that in many cases students were under a lot of stress, excuse me, mm-hmm. and they were looking at, you know, other ways of assessing the courses they were taking, looking at community service, those other types of indicators. You know, they were looking at the whole individual to determine, you know, what would this individual contribute to their particular college. And so the state has picked it up. Many of the universities now are also, you know, bringing the SAT back because, again, if they're drawing from candidates from across the country, the SAT is one that will give them that broad perspective. And it's something that, you know, we feel we prepare our students and mm-hmm. we want them to do well.
Yeah. Do you have, or has there been, you talked about getting the college credit. Mm-hmm. Have there been any recruiters from colleges visit classes and maybe talk about different subjects and different careers?
We do it both ways. In many cases, we have individuals who come and visit our schools. You know, we have had college and career fairs. We had a big one back in the fall. We had another one in the spring. And that's important. They're able to give high-level overviews to a number of individuals so that they can then share information and there can be follow-up. But recently, in the last few years, we have also taken students on trips to local universities. They go to Valpo, they've been to IUPUI, which is the Indianapolis campus, and they have visited there. They have been to Purdue. Many parents, also make arrangements to take students. I know we had some that also visited Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. So we visit a wide range because students then are able to get on campus and really get the college campus feel.
Yeah.
They get a chance to talk to students. They get a chance to, talk to more individuals who can help guide their academic journey. Mm-hmm. And so they have a real understanding of what it should be. And, just as an example, last night, we had our distinguished banquet. We had 24 students that have a GPA of 4.1 or above.
Oh, wow.
We had 10 of them who actually had earned a 4.4 and above. And so they are going to, Purdue, they're going to honors colleges, North Carolina, Notre Dame,
outstanding,
Indiana. It was very impressive to hear some of their academic plans. They're going into computer science. They're going into cybersecurity.
Oh, gosh.
One is planning to become an orthopedic surgeon. And so just, we are really excited about the opportunities that our students have.
And like you said, they've already got their schools picked out.
They have their schools picked out.
Some of them probably, I would imagine, had a choice.
They had many choices.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's another great thing about being in that high grade percentage of the average.
Absolutely. And that was something, again, it came from the parents that I visited in schools at the very beginning. We added, for example, STEM programming to Lake Hills and to Barker. Lake Hills was one of the first STEM certified schools in the state of Indiana. As we looked at the high school programming, our honors students were doing extremely well, but we felt that we had other students that had the ability, but they needed some added support. So 10 years ago, we started what we call early college. We were the first in Northwest Indiana to have a certified early college program in this area. And now we have graduated over close to 700 students. They have gone on to college or they have all gone in some cases on to the armed forces. But in all cases, they have done some type of post-secondary work. And we were very proud a couple of weeks ago, Horizon Bank came in and they actually are providing a scholarship, 2 of them each year, one to the student that has the top GPA and the other to a student who gives service and first generation going to college and has a high GPA as well. So again, we've tried to, on a regular basis, listen to the needs of our students, our families, and really ensure that programmatically we're doing the things that really, really matter.
Sure. I'd like to discuss your relationship with the school board over the years. You've got different people that are on the board that have different professions, and they're on the board there. So let's talk about the school board.
Well, we are very fortunate over the years, I would say, to have individuals who have a true interest in making sure that our students in this community receive the supports, receive the opportunities that are extremely important. Jim Kinsel was the president of the board when I first started. He had a very unique perspective in terms of making sure that our careers programs were things that were top notch for this community. I know that he would be very proud. We're going to be opening up at the old Brown Mackey building, the new LaPorte, Center for Career and Technical Education
good
here.
enough.
We're moving most of our programming from the A.K. Smith there. In addition to that, we have a Little Wolves Early Learning Center.
I have seen that sign.
Yes, indeed. We had a few students that actually got a head start this year, and they began the programming, but we have parents are signing up right now for next year, and we're really excited about that opportunity. So we have had others who were really interested in providing additional opportunities for students. Dr. Cora, for example, was one. He was very interested in something similar to advanced placement. We had talked about international baccalaureate. We went the route with the advanced placement and dual credit, because our local universities were PNC when Jim Dworkin was there. Ivy Tech now has become our leading supporter for what they call the Indiana College Core. We have students, this year we had 11 who completed 30 credit hours while in high school. And so that completes their first year of college.
Oh my gosh.
So they're going to college as sophomores. So we're just extremely excited about that. We have individuals. Marty Corley is just grounded in the community, being supportive to the community. He started, for example, the All Dads program, and that's a program where dads come together, learn skills, strategies to help them better interact with their students. But Marty also, from the police department perspective, was part of the effort to get our middle school students involved early on in leadership. So they have a summer leadership program. So I would say I could go down the list and talk through the various interests, the various ways in which our board members, they're not just sitting there. Our board members are actively working to bring opportunities and support the administration as well to bring opportunities to Michigan City.
Yeah, all righty. So, and how often are is the voting done for the school board? Is that every 2 years?
It's every 2 years.
It is every 2 years.
And there are different groups that would be running for election at that particular time.
Yeah, because then you got to get used to another set of people that come in. But it seems like it's working out pretty well.
It's working out well. And while there often have been changes, and in many cases we have a core group. Don Delaney was on the board when I started 14 years ago. And, he is one who has, from the Beverly Shores area, but he is one who really is committed to Michigan City area schools in general and has been a huge supporter.
So, well, they've went back to one high school before you got here, but is it working out still with just the one high school?
It's working out with the one high school, absolutely. One of the things that we have a new strategic plan. And so we are working through the details. We got a lot of community input last year. We had almost 3,000 people respond to our survey. Wow. We had a town hall meeting. We had focus groups. And so we wanted to make sure that for the next phase of work and the next phase of vision for the district, that we had the voice of the community. And so one of the things that we're doing, one of our pillars focuses on culture and environment, bringing pride back, making sure that, we're recognizing everyone who has been part of the Michigan City area schools experience. In some cases, there were those that were at Elston, there were those that were at Rogers, now it's Michigan City High School, but just really doing more to try to blend in, the spirit among everyone. And we're really excited about some of the things. This past year, we had a Teacher of the Year, program.
Okay.
And so that was something that was exciting. One thing that we heard from our students is they wanted voice too. So we had 2 students that were part of the strategic planning process, and there's a pillar devoted to getting student input on things that they feel matter to them. And Chase McMillan is one student. In fact, he's going on to IU South Bend. Ashley Sparks was the other person. And they were engaged in different types of activities. Chase was over at A.K. Smith, and he really enjoyed that experience.
Well,
in
good.
addition to being part of the early college, Ashley is just an amazing young woman who is a musician. She plays 19 instruments. She's active in the theater. She was the president of the student council. She's going on to Butler to become a music teacher. But they engaged others, and students felt, for example, they wanted to have more opportunities for extended day activities. So those are things that we're working on for them.
A lot being done.
A lot that's being done, and communications was one. Parents wanted to make sure that they were aware even more of some of the things that were taking place. And a lot of students from the pandemic still are having social emotional concerns, and so that's educating the whole child, making sure that we're meeting the needs of diverse learners. We have a lot more students, EL students, that were coming into our district, and we want to serve everyone well. And so, it's an exciting process. We begin year 2 in the fall, and I know that, there's some exciting plans, still building ideas, doing a lot of research as well.
You've touched base on some of the seniors that are going to be graduating, but anything else you want to add about this year's class? I think you did.
I think I added a lot about this year's class, but I do want to say that many of our 40 students participated in IB Tech's graduation. Some of them were getting certifications, in some of the career-oriented areas. I talked about those that were College Core. We had students that were DAC academics, as well as the athletic awards. That's really exciting for us. 29 students earned certifications in healthcare, automotive, things of that nature. We are working to ensure our students are prepared. I would also say that community service is really important to us. We had Better World Day back in May, earlier this month, and we had students K through 8, every school participated. In some cases, they were taking things to the pediatric ward at the hospital. They were collecting food for some of the food drives. You saw our football team. They were helping to make garden beds for those that were starting gardens in the Walker area. And, the other thing I would just say, our JROTC is phenomenal. They are always willing to help and serve. And we feel that this community service aspect is as important as anything that we do. The students should own that, this is their community, and they should give back.
Absolutely. Well, this is your last year, so it sounds like it has been just one successful ride, which hearing from when you first started up to these, kids getting these college credits and going to get started on college. So what are some of your retirement plans, if we may ask?
Well, I haven't firmed up anything. My last day is August the 2nd. And one of the things I do want to do is to spend more time with my husband, who retired a few years ago, and my family. I now have a great-granddaughter and who's in Chicago, and I want to make sure that I don't miss any more of her programs, because sometimes there were conflicts, and she calls me Gigi, and I couldn't make it. But I want to find ways to stay connected to the community, to engage in the community. I have served on a number of boards here. I've worked with the United Way. I've worked with the Duneland Health Conference, Council Board, and I want to continue to give back to this community. My husband and I love this community, and as I mentioned, a lot of people didn't realize that I actually bought the home here before I started working. I am just truly looking forward to just enjoying life, and having an opportunity, if I don't want to set my clock to get up at 5:30, I can get up at 7 or 8. That's okay. But it's just been amazing. The individuals I've met, the collaborations, the partnerships. Clarence Hulse with the Economic Development Corporation has been a real partner with our school district.
Okay.
I've had an opportunity not only to serve on the board, but to participate in some of the site selection meetings.
Good.
And he helped us start a program. So I've built a lot of relationships. Those relationships don't end just because I won't be serving as the superintendent.
Yeah.
But my goal is to try to find ways to give back and support the community in a positive way.
Well, it seems like you have done more than that in your term as the superintendent. So, Barbara Eason Watkins, thank you so much for being my guest, and congratulations on all of the many accomplishments that have happened during your time here. So best of luck with that retirement. Thank you again.
Well, thank you. It's been 14 glorious years here in Michigan City and 50 years in education.
All righty. I'm Bill Landing. That's this segment of Interesting Individuals. Hope you enjoyed our program. We'll see you again soon.